Good Monday evening, everybody. Zeb here to share with you Amos 4 through 6. Do you ever wonder, if you're looking through the Old Testament, why God seems to harp on certain themes over and over and over again? The wickedness of man, social inequality, failure to worship Him and to come to Him in times of need, and to worship instead pagan gods and so forth. It's repeated over and over and over again. And the plagues in Egypt were not the only plagues by a long shot that God has ever set forth on people. Well, you know what? All of those books, all of those total Old and New Testament combined 1,300 pages or so, written by all those different prophets, inspired by God, throughout the ages, thousands of years, did not change the wickedness of man's heart. So, you talk to somebody, look, you really need to handle this thing that you've got going on. And you don't jump off from that to say, oh, and also you've got this going on and that going on. And that. God is trying to focus on the disease of the wickedness of the heart brought about by the fall. And that's why it's repeated over and over and over again, as it is in Amos 4 through 6, although Amos is one of the earlier times. In this time that Amos was writing in the 700s BC, it was a period of actual, for some of the population, there were people who were very successful, and the society seemed rather stable at the time. But I would compare it to the 1990s in the United States. The racism was kind of swept under the cover, while many blacks and other minorities were being sent off to jail. You've got people rotting in Rikers even now, the prison near New York City, who have not seen a day in court. And then you have a remnant that is seeking God and has been seeking God, and doing so earnestly and diligently. But yet at the same time, you have people that are worshiping Allah and Muhammad. You have millions of gods being worshipped by hundreds of millions, billions of people. In the Shinto religion, in the Hindu religion, in the Buddhist religion. Then you have celebrity worship here in the United States. And that's not even an attempt to reach to something higher. And then you have the elite, who call me conspiratorially minded if you wish, but you know that there's some pretty funky, weird stuff going on in those rich homes where the elite gather. And there's worship of Satan, of Moloch, of Baal. There was recently a huge statue put up of Baal in New York City. In this time, it's not like in the 1990s where things seemed just great and they were about to fall with the towers. It is very much out in the open that we live in very evil times. Just ask some dude named Diddy and his friends. Now, at the beginning of chapter 4 of Amos, God refers to the women as cows. And that has to do with how they were so self-indulgent and they were so complacent. It's interesting that it's not just the men this time, like it was with Jeffrey Epstein. Primarily it was the men, although Epstein had his woman who was working with him. But now, like Pink and two other top female divas, basically, have deleted everything from their Twitter accounts since, the aforementioned purveyor of absolutely horrible parties that would make Sodom and Gomorrah blush. So what's my point? My point is, how does this affect us personally? take heed to what Diane said this past Sunday, the 22nd, in the service, in her sermon. Realize that not everybody that you see sitting in the pews next to you. Now, don't you all get paranoid, and I don't want to go on any witch hunts, but just realize that, I have to say this about this church. I said to a couple of people last Sunday, the previous Sunday, is the Lord moving in your life? And I was expecting that. I'm not sure what I was expecting, but a couple of people almost resented it, as if I was accusing them of something. No, I just wanted to share in the joy of them being able to say truthfully that the Lord was moving in their lives, because I felt like that was probably what was going on. But a couple of people just kind of seem to take resentment towards it. Now, I don't know if that's because... I have no idea why that is. All that I'm saying is, don't take it for granted. Don't take any of this for granted. Don't take your status in the eyes of the Lord for granted. Don't take... And realize that a big part of what we are to do as Christians... I read something to the congregation a couple of weeks ago where it said that basically what religion is taking care of the orphans and the poor kids and the widows and so forth. The social inequality in this country, in this world, is staggering, and it's getting worse, and we all have something that we can do about it. And we're going to have to tell that to the Lord when it comes our time to answer for ourselves. So don't take your salvation for granted. I'll try not to take mine for granted. I'll try to keep all of these things foremost in my heart and in my mind. That's the deal that I offer you guys this morning. I think we're making good progress on that. But if you ever find yourself feeling complacent about your spirituality, about your relationship with God, maybe go back and read Amos 4-6. Certain sections in Timothy 2. What Jesus has to say in Matthew 24 about the times that we're living in now. Take all those things to heart. And someday I'd love to see you on that far celestial shore. Love you guys, and see you next Sunday.